Hello and welcome to another episode of gladyamadeit. Hello and welcome to another episode of gladyamadeit.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Glad You Made It. Welcome back. It's another So-So production. What day is today? Ladies and gentlemen, it is fantastic. It's July the 30th, 2023. That's my impression of a retarded yet empathetic, high on EQ zombie. Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of Glad You Made It. Hello and welcome back. Where are we, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Glad you asked. We are at the Jane and Finch Mall here in Toronto. Where is that, you ask? It's at Jane and Finch. That's where we're at. Why are we here today? I don't quite honestly know. To be very honest with you, I don't even know why we're here today. But I'm feeling good, and I don't know what it was, but last night, excuse me, last night I just had a feeling. It was a gut feeling. It told me to go to Jane and Finch, and I love this neighborhood for different reasons. And we all know what happens when you travel whilst listening to your guts. Only good things can happen when you travel and you're listening to your gut instincts. Nothing could go awry. We've all seen that. So we're here, we're at Jane and Finch. This is one of my favorite neighborhoods in the Greater Toronto area for different reasons. One of which is that back in the day, my dad used to own his little shop within the area, near Jane and Finch. And this was a neighborhood. Right after he passed, I was driving with my mom, and it was in a shit box. It was a Honda Civic, and it broke down at an intersection, and that's one of the times that I got called the N-word and also a white boy all in one. In less than 1 minute. The car broke down. I was trying to make a left turn, and I couldn't make it. And somebody drove by to get off the road, N-word. And then somebody else whizzed by and said, get off the road, white boy, or learn to drive, white boy. I can't quite remember, but I do remember being called an N-word and a white boy within a minute. And that's when my mom asked, what is this N-word? And I'm like, don't worry about it. Are we N-words? And I'm like, we are N-words. We're N-words, but we're also out on the outside. She's like, do you want me to call you the N-word? I'm like, no. She's like, do you want to call me the N-word? I'm like, no. She's like, what is it? I'm like, it gets dark. So, that was a fun afternoon. But, this neighborhood has changed quite a bit of time. It's since I've been, and I didn't live here, but again, my dad did have a shop close to this area, and so it's got this, every time I drive by, it's got a thing. It's like, I don't know what it is. It feels like a little part of me is always attracted to these buildings, to these plazas here, and some things have definitely changed, some things have definitely remained the same. And I don't know why I'm here today, but I'm here anyway. It is in the earlier hours of the day. It's around, let's check the old time, just so we have it's 8:45 in the morning, crack of dawning, still yawning. So we are here, ladies and gents, and maybe we'll get lucky and speak with a couple of beautiful individuals of the neighborhood. Maybe we won't. Maybe it'll just be yours truly and your beautiful, gorgeous selves out there, you gorgeous, sexy bastards out there, the ladies and the gents. I hope your nutsacks are emptied out. I hope she went down and slurp slurp. And ladies, I hope that box is slippery when wet. Today's theme, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is we don't really have any themes around here, but sometimes we do. And today's underlying theme, I've been thinking about this. It's gonna be either come together or come by yourself. Or when no one else is coming, when no one is coming, get out there and come by yourself. So remember that as we move forward with this video. Where can you find these magical videos? It's dropped on Instagram and on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, help out your boy. Subscribe on YouTube. I can't emphasize this enough. Subscribe on YouTube because it helps your boy out, it helps you out, because you get that reminder. You're like, where do I get the good? On YouTube. And if you like to fiscally, financially support this independent show, check out patreon.com/RobSadri. Thank you very much. And give as much or as little as, nothing is too little or too much. You can give as much as a buck or fucking go nuts. One person can get in there and just fucking splurge a milli, a cool milli. No big deal. What are numbers anyway? So I'll leave that up to you. But if you like to enjoy the show, and many other episodes are up on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. You can either start from the beginning or jump on in wherever you like. But I'm doing well, thank you very much for asking. Just getting accustomed to a lot of new things, also changing. I've been having weird dreams. I've been having more dreams, I'll tell you that. It's because I've been laying low on the old cannabis or cannabis. Been dreaming more, at least remembering my dreams a little bit more, but I can't say they haven't been like, it's been weird. It's been a trip, not gonna lie. I did have a dream about, it was a sex dream. It was sexual of nature. Nothing sexy happened in it, but it was a low-key like wet dream vibes, but like nothing happened. But the character that was in it was surprising to me, and I'll tell you what, I woke up kind of like, oh, I'm catching myself getting the cold sweats. I dreamt Nancy Pelosi was trying to stick her thumb in my mouth. Like that. I don't know why Nancy Pelosi. I don't know why a thumb in my mouth. But she had like, it was Nancy. So shout out to Nance. And she stuck her thumb in my mouth like that. And it was a gross thumb. Looked like chicken fingers or chicken legs rather. Or chicken feet. Because chickens don't have shoes. It wouldn't have, like, you know what I mean. So the chicken finger, chicken legs. Stuck her thumb in my mouth and I was like, Nance, what are you doing? But then I woke up, but it was going in a, so yeah, it wasn't so overtly sexual, but it had connotations, and I'm like, Nance, dinner first. Jeez Louise. So that was weird. And I'd like to share that with you guys and gals out here, because that's what we do around here. But you know, all in all, I'm doing well, thank you, and I hope you're doing well wherever you are in and around this beautiful planet, whether it's here in the Greater Toronto area, here in the East Coast, or you're over there in Vancouver, BC, or down south in the US, Mexico, South America, Asia, Europe, Africa, Antarctica, Papua New Guinea, Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, Thailand, Nigeria, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, wherever you're tuning in from. Let's have some fun today. Many of things that I'd like to talk to you guys and gals about. Let's start off with, and we'll go in no particular order. So many things happening. Let me say this out loud so I remember what I want to talk to you guys and gals about anyway, because I have been thinking and I'm gonna try not to miss anything. One, I do want to talk about Barack Obama, or the Obama family and the dead chef. That's one. Remember that. Somebody remember that. Another topic that I'd like to talk to you guys about is LeBron James's son previously had a cardiac arrest during practice, so remember that. We'll talk about that as well, and we'll talk about a little bit about Islam as well, and what Sweden is doing to deal with Islam or whatever's, or the Quran. So without further ado, ladies and gents, let's start off with an easy breathe, and we'll ease into this one because I like to ease into things. The Obamas recently, in the past week, if I'm not mistaken, had a chef. They had a chef, a personal chef, a lovely human being, I'm sure. And he ended up dying in their home, drowned in Martha's Vineyard. And you're saying out there that it's because low-key Barack Obama is actually a gay man. Low-key Michelle Obama is actually, you're saying all this. I'm just reiterating what I've been hearing people say. And you're saying Michelle Obama is actually a low-key undercover trans woman, and you have Ellen DeGeneres to thank for that. And now we've got a dead chef. And today, I guess, it's Detective Rob Sadri on the case, or the many cases that are in our world. Detective, that's right. Journalist Detective Rob Sadri, thank you. Again, remember, empathetic, retarded zombie. That's never been made until now. The chef is dead. He's gone. He drowned. Condolences to the family. And you're saying it's because Barack had gay sexual relations with this man. Allegedly. Who knows? How would we even know? Where would we even know? When would we even know? Whom? Do we know? How? How is that it takes two men to have the gay sex, which is dick to dick, or dick to ass, or dick to mouth, or butt to butt, or mouth to mouth, like them having to be guys first, both of them. And you're like, and you're saying this is all explained because this is how you explained it out there. You're like, low-key, Barack is a gay man. And why would he, first of all, he's retired, so leave the man be if he wants to do. And this is all allegedly, by the way. We'll get down to the nitty-gritty of it as well. Just because a man is potentially, has got ties to the CIA, who knows? Allegedly, all of this is, hearsay at this point. And trying to run a country from behind the scenes while puppeteering a president who's an elderly man at this point, and he's tired. And he's stumbling and falling and shaking ghosts' hands and sniffing children and owning a dog that goes out there and bites people several times. It's hard when you're trying to pull the strings from behind the scene, and that's your face, that's your front man's face. So stress builds up. Stress builds up, and as a gay man who has to have a face, you have to get a beard. Hence Michelle Obama, allegedly. Gotta get a beard. And you're like, what about the kids? The kids are part of the beard too, who knows? Allegedly. When you're trying to run a country and your face is going out there and making all sorts of mistakes and fumbles here and there, it gets stressful. And every time and again, and as much as that tranny dick might be good, you might be like, you know what, this job is so stressful. I thought I'd just get to sit on the couch and make the calls from behind the scenes, but guess what? I'm gonna have to go out there and get some real vitamin D. Yeah. And that's when you have employments or employees, and you have chefs that come over and stay at your place and do the cooking and are still there when you're not in there, but are low-key in there. I don't know when they're in it together. These are all just hypotheticals, of course, because that's what you're saying out there, and I'm out here. So yeah, you go out and do gay business, which is completely fine. I'm fine with it. You're fine with it. But guess who's not fine with it? In the realm of politics, on a global stage, even though you and I might be just a bunch of cool cucumbers with everything, literally, as long as there's no harm, no foul to anybody else. Other people in suits in high places or in low places that are getting high might not be so cool with it. Like, they might be cool with it behind the scenes, but out on the real, no wait, they might be cool with it. They're probably not cool with it. They're probably not cool with it. So that's why he has to hide it. And that's what you do. But they probably fell in love. The chef and Barack were smooching, going fucking heavy on the tonsil tennis tournaments, baby. Fucking slapping dick, dude. Hard. But then Barack was like, yo, we're gonna keep this strictly physical, because I need to have a little bit of stress relief. And also I love my family. Genuinely I do. But you can take a look at my hair. It's used to be all black, now it's all white and gray. It's stressful. It's stressful business. So let me get a little bit of D and give you a little bit of D, and then we'll call it a day. But then guess what? The chef, or was he even a chef, dude? When was the last time you saw that guy cook? Almost never. That's right, think about that. So falls in love with Barack, and Barack is like, dude, I told you this is all gonna be only physical only. And he's like, but Barack, we've got something. And they might have had, or it might have been mutual. It might have been mutual. But then Michelle comes in, slaps a little bit of like common sense into Barack, says like, look what is at stake. We're multi-millionaires even after you've retired. Look how much money you're making giving speeches even after you've retired. Just a few years back, looking back, we were just mere public servants. And now look, and you want to throw it all away for a little bit of cock. Why don't you go ahead and suck on this? And she might have a penis. And again, you can thank Ellen DeGeneres for that, because on one of the episodes of Ellen DeGeneres, you could see Michelle Obama dancing and swinging heavy sticks, ladies and gents. What's underneath the white pants, you ask? Why do you ask that anyway? Why? It is peculiar, I'll say that. I myself don't believe it, but you said it out there. Swinging and also doing mad push-ups. When was the last time you saw a lady do mad push-ups? I don't see any ladies out here doing any mad push-ups. She certainly, or he certainly, or that mad push-ups, broad shoulders. There was also another mishap Brock called Michelle Michael. And so you're out there connecting all these dots, and you're like, oh man, gay sex, guy fell in love, he's trying to talk Brock into divorcing Michelle, going off into somewhere else in the mountains, just banging out sessions, hardcore gay sex. And then that's when the CIA gets in. That's when Michelle's like, this guy's gotta go, paddleboarding accident, whoops, drownage. Is it real? Is it all hearsay? I love people of all sorts of... Well, you know what? Before you go ahead and say that Michelle's a man, first of all, literally, ladies and... Okay, it could be anything. It could be anything down there. She could be a lady. Let's probably most likely 100% as a lady. But let's just cross all the whatever's on the list to just get to the nitty-gritty of it. Could it be... Haven't you ever... First of all, she's on the Ellen DeGeneres show. And guess what? Ellen is a lesbian, okay? I believe that. I don't know it for sure, but I believe it. And out of just sheer solidarity, for a second, could it have been that Michelle Obama was just wearing a strap-on so to like bond a little bit more with Ellen? It could have easily been a strap-on penis. So before you go out and say that's a biological penis, you haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. For all we know, it could be a strap-on, dude. And they could have just been... And maybe Ellen and Michelle were doing some dirty, and you're like, but they're both married, but they're both like, you know, Hollywood and like fiscally elite people. What even is a marriage at that point, if not just a convenient way to meet people and also mingle and like be like, oh, I'm responsible with the family and the outside, but on the inside, I got the strap-ons. It might have been a strap-on, so before you say she's got a penis, might have been a strap-on dildo. It could have been also, honestly, nothing even sexual, dude. Don't you guys and gals out there want to carry large flashlights at all times on you? Because like, yeah, everybody's all fine and like, oh, electricity's always working, the grid is always up. Until it's not, dude. Until literally the grid is down. And then everybody's like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden everybody turns into empathetic, retarded zombies, trying to find matches, or a candle, or a flashlight. And it could have been that Michelle is just a prepared lady who happens to carry her own flashlight. Okay. Or a large wallet. Or a large water bottle. So it could be a number of things. So before you go out there, jump into conclusions and coming up with all sorts of silly, fantastical storylines, I say take a step back. Take another step back. Take another step back. Keep stepping back. Back. And then reel it in. Reel it in. Reel it in. So rest in peace to the chef. And that's what you get, dude. Go out there trying to break up marriages that are like, you know, fucking of high importance to someone. Ta! That's what you get, but also like, that's all, you know, that's all. Detective Rob Sadry's instincts say that is just a real paddleboarding accident. Right. Moving forward, switching gears. Switching gears and drifting. To the next topic, ladies and gentlemen. LeBron James's son last week was on the court. Went into a full-blown cardiac arrest, dude. And you know how high-performing athletes are prone to... Let me catch my breath. That actually took a lot more than I thought. It was fucking realistic. We all know that cardiac arrests are very common amongst high-performing athletes. But what you're saying out there is that it was because of a little bit of this. It was a little bit of that. You're saying out there that it's a little bit of the old jabberoo. All right? Now we all know everything in this world has its pros and its cons, its benefits and its downsides. Water, for example. Don't drink enough water, next thing you know, you're feeling dehydrated. You're feeling like your sperm count is more or less the same, but the consistency of your jizz is no longer the same. Drink a bit of water there, you're dehydrated. Drink too much water and oh my God, is that even sperm or is that's just water, or you might drown. So you don't want to drink too much water either. So you can see something as simple as water, pros, cons, black, white. Peanuts. 99.9% of the 97% of, somewhere around the 87 to 95% of what, a high percentage of the world's population is gooched with peanuts and nuts in general. All sorts of nuts. No allergies, no rashes, no choking up right here.
I can't breathe. Oh my God, there's nothing in there, Jack.
Most people are fine. But there's a little portion of the population that happens to be a bunch of pansies out there who sees a peanut and all of a sudden, look at them, they're seizuring out on the court, man. That's just peanuts. Dandelions. 75% of the population can frolic through a field of dandelions in the Scottish Highlands with no repercussions, but 25% or whatever of the population happens to frolic in a field of dandelions. Next thing you know, their noses are running here. All fucking snot fest right here, dude. Congestion. Oh, I got my nose is okay. Oh, it's affecting my sinuses too. I can't breathe. Losers. So, everything has its pros and cons. You can see that, except for the perfect jab. The jab for you, a jab for me, and jab for you. There's nothing wrong with this. There's zero possibility of an experimental drug having pros and cons. And I'm a fan of drugs, don't get me wrong. But all I'm saying is that this is the first instance when we came together as a species and we're like, we're gonna invent something that has zero negative impacts. Absolutely zero. It could be literally anything. Anything. Athletes passing out, soccer players passing out, regular people stroking out on the streets. You've seen the videos. Could be anything except the jab. Please do not question the jab. Do you know it's so hard for these poor giant pharmaceutical companies to have to be responsible after with all the billions of dollars, with all the lawyers and the lobbyists. God, they have it so hard. So please, instead of asking silly questions, think of someone other than yourself, like a giant, heartless corporation. And think about how much more money they can make if we just... And I'm not saying that, and you're not saying that, but it's just at one point or another, when you start asking, could there be any possible detriments, any possible cases of rising numbers in myocarditis, anybody getting any sort of heart attacks earlier than expected? When you start asking these, you're becoming very difficult for these beautiful, courageous, heartless, really future corporate, because the future is more robotic, more cold, and that's the future, baby. So you're holding back the future, dude. So stop thinking about yourself. Stop thinking about your loved ones, and be prepared to take a jab. And this wasn't the past pandemic was not the only one, dudes, ladies and gents. So I keep reading it, and it gets peppered in that there will be other pandemics. But there's a cognitive dissonance, if you will, or at least a opposing perspective. Because on one hand, when something happens and you're like, man, what's up with LeBron James's son? And what's up with Jamie Foxx, dude? What happened with Jamie Foxx? 1 minute he's fine, next minute he's missing a little while he comes back, and his handlebar mustache is connected on one side and not connected on the other, and you're not allowed to ask questions anymore. And then that's when the media, legacy media, will come and say, we need to respect the privacy of individuals. We need to respect the privacy of the medical privacy of individuals. Please respect the privacy of individuals and their medical privacy. Please, can you please respect the privacy of individuals and their families and loved ones unless we determine here, because I was also reading in another article which counters this argument that says that here in Canada we need access to more of your medical information, especially when it comes to getting prepared for the next pandemic. So privacy on one side, yet complete transparency on another side. So that's just, I'm trying to figure things out because I don't know anything.
I just say,
I'm just a empathetic, retarded zombie trying to do the best I can. So, before you go ahead and ask questions, think about the potential billions that are at stake for those beautiful corporations out there. Okay? Quit being so goddamn selfish out there. Having said that, also, things are weird. Things are, you know, it's full of ups and downs and beautiful things out there. Today's a beautiful, wonderful day. It's sunny outside. It's gas prices we're sitting at $1.70 per liter here in the Toronto, and honestly, I think we can do better, dudes. Ladies and gents, I think $1.70 is kind of meh. Who doesn't like round numbers? Let's crank it up to $2 with the inflation and the. Let's just make it an even $2. Really squeeze the average folk out there, because we need to. Somebody's got to be squeezed. You can't have no society with no squeeze. Somebody's got to get squeezed, baby. Somebody's got to get squeezed. But with that being said, there is good news, because there are people out there and companies out there who are now introducing such concepts as the World ID or the World Coin or whatever. And how can you obtain these World Coins and World IDs? Very simple. You scan your eyeball, right? And they give you a World Coin and a World ID. So that way, people can confirm your identity and to figure out whether or not you're a robot or an AI or a real individual with human emotions and blood running through your veins, and you're made of muscle and bones and tissue and all that shit. Somebody out there is really keen on verifying that information and getting that biometric information, that personal information uploaded onto a database. And please do not worry. Things are good. It's all good. Honestly, without any biometrics, without any digital currencies handed out by some sort of, you know, banking system, without that, we already here in Toronto and Canada at least, Justin Trudeau has been showing us throughout the pandemic that he can go ahead and like shut down your bank account. And that's without the use of CBDC, central banking digital currencies. So with regular, easy peasy. And all I'm saying is, please, somebody think of the Justin Trudeaus of the world. Okay, if somebody wants to, somebody who is like up there, trying to be a totalitarian, trying to be a good dictator, trying to shut down opposing views, opinions and thoughts, and shut off their banking, which is their livelihood essentially. It's so much more difficult to do it when you don't have a CBDC, a central banking digital currency. And but once you have a central banking digital currency, it becomes so much easier for these wonderful governmental elites to do it. And God, again, quit thinking about yourself and think about how much easier the task will be for them. It's all about you, isn't it? You're like, oh, I like having cash. I like just leaving it at a credit card because, you know, I can decide whether I want to take out cash out of my bank account or maybe once in a while use a credit card. I have a little bit more agency. Yeah, but who has less agency this way? The Justin Trudeaus of the world have less agency and power that way. So quit being selfish and prepare so we can all be more easily coerced into taking experimental medicine. We can easily be more coerced to stop working. We can easily be coerced to really do anything. Now here's what I will say. Scanning the eyeball, I like to help create a world where, because I'm for tech. I'm for it, dude. I love tech. I use the techs. We're on the techs teching around. Just a bunch of tech dudes and gals out here. But I'm saying the eyeball could be easily, you know, first of all, they come and say the eyeball is how you can verify an individual. Well, what if some sick eyeball pervert were to take your eyeball, put it in some sort of resin, and maintain it for the rest of eternity, and just go around just scanning your eyeball that's in a resin into things and like fucking cash out and like make purchases and identify? What if a robot gouges your eye out, right? Hear me out on this. Gouges your eye out, goes home, does some arts and crafts, creates some resin, puts your eyeball in it, and this robot's just walking with a resin fucking eyeball on his head. Boop, purchase, boop. Verified, not a robot with his robotic fingers, dude. So if we want to go full circle, or if we want to come together, scanning the eyeball is not bulletproof. Scanning the eyeball is not the best option. I say we scan assholes. Because anybody can gouge out your eye, anybody can take your eyes, but they can't take your asshole, man. Ladies, think about that. They can't take your asshole. So if we were to fully adapt and adopt, I say we scan the assholes, because that's really when you know a person. That's when you really can be like, I know that guy. I know that mole. That little short and curly, I recognize that one. That's Jerry right there, you know? So that's, oh, that dirty blonde, man, I know that. That's Sally right there. That is, that's, I see that dirty blonde, short and curly. That is a Sally. Verify, not a robot. Unless robots then decide to hijack our assholes and stick it on their face. So now you got robots with assholes on their faces walking around and verifying their identity, your identity. All I'm saying is, please think of the totalitarian government officials out there before you're like, oh, but what about my privacy? What about my livelihood? What about my business? What about my family? Oh, that's all about, all I heard there was my. I didn't hear any oui, which is yes, yes, yes in French. Bon, wait. So, take a bite of that croissant right there. Ladies and gents, let's shift gears a little bit, shall we? In Sweden, this is international, again, Detective Rob Sadri. I have just showered in it's all good, I'm a professional. It's fine, dude, I've showered and everything's fine in terms of like, it's fine, it's about the content anyway. Point is, in Sweden, I was reading that the people want to gather and potentially burn the Quran. And it brought up an interesting question, because like it's a question of freedom of choice, freedom of speech versus human rights and stuff, and other things too. Now, you might be tempted out there to burn the Quran. Now, I'll give you a bunch of reasons as why you shouldn't burn the Quran. Quran Araf. Quran. You're like, I want to burn it. I want to burn it all the way. I'll tell you why you shouldn't burn the Quran, okay? First of all, it's a book. And you're like, books, literally any book makes great fire starting kits. At least if you want a fire starter kit, if you don't have anything else in hand, just the matches and a lighter, and if you can't find it, any book will suffice. And you're like, makes it easier to start a fire with a book. And to that I say, that's a good point. Okay, fine. That's a great point right there for you. Ah, ha ha ha. Oh, you got my back on the ropes, eh? Well, deal with this next one then. Let me ask you this: in Western society, in places like Western society, in Sweden or wherever else, in Canada or the United States, let me ask you this. Do you not enjoy maybe having males completely dominate like society? Don't you want to be able to just backhand a bitch without minimal to zero consequences? Guess what provides that? Islam and the Quran. Not so overtly, but then again, the way it's practiced at least. And not all people who practice that way, but looking around, if you're like, man, I like our society to be like, oh, what about men's? Exactly. And are you tired of your lady going out there and like being all fucking like promiscuous and shit? Or not even promiscuous, just fucking, you know, oh, I'm going surfing, I'm a surfer, oh, I'm an avid surfer, and just putting it all out there. And you're like, man, I wish my surfer lady would just be a little bit more modest. Guess what? Modesty is huge in the Islams, in the Quran, I think. So if you don't want, if you're not a fan of tits, Islam's for you. And you're like, is that gay? Not like completely, but like gayer than the other ones that are out there. And I like to remind everybody that Islam and the Quran, the whole religion is extremely peaceful. How peaceful is it? Go ahead and burn a couple of Qurans and they will peacefully set a whole building on fire. Peacefully. Those are peaceful fires. Peaceful fires. Entire buildings, embassies. And you're like, does it stop there? No. They will peacefully, not all, but there have been a lot of instances where libraries go up on fire. History gets wiped out. Historical artifacts get ruined by such people as the ISIS. Of course, not all Muslims and not all Islamists and not all Quran readers are that. But all I'm saying is you're wondering now, because we are debating stuff and we're talking out loud here, really. And then he goes, I'm just a retarded zombie who's doing better on the EQ than the IQ, let's just say. I'm like the zombie that, I want to eat your face, but I won't. Because I feel for you. I want to eat your face, but I won't. Yeah, because you always see zombies and you're like, run. But what about a zombie who's like, I'll think about stuff a little bit. So yeah, if you don't like any peaceful fires, then we're bringing more of the Islams and the Qurans, and you're like, what about us when we don't, but if we were to visit countries who are Islamic, like Saudi Arabia, like Iran, like a whole, but like Qatar, don't they make us the visitor or the rare immigrant who goes, because yes, and looking back, if you're like, man, how does Islam bode? And it bodes really well, because we've seen it historically. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are on a daily basis flocking from the West to Middle Eastern countries. Facts. Why? Because when you're there, some of the things are them's the rules, and you gotta play by the rules. You don't want to play by the rules, all of a sudden you're getting hung. And let me ask you this: when was the last time you saw somebody hung in Western society? Almost never. So, right? So lame. No hangings, no public executions. Lame. So if you are open-minded, if you say yes to everything, then say yes to Islam and more of the Quran. They love women so much. They love women so much that it's like a sick, jealous lover. He's like, oh, cover it all up, because like first of all, I don't want you to be exposed and out there, full-grown ladies who can't think for themselves. I don't want you to worry about that. You don't worry about you don't use that pretty head of yours. Cover them tits and ass up for your mans when you get back home. We'll take it all off. But out on them streets, all I want to see is pupils. And if we can go without the pupils too, that'll just be, do you even need to go out? What even is outside? What even is outside anyway? So they love their women so much so that they will beat them if the women ask questions, and beat them to the point where like it creates like a scenario where the women start to believe that it is their own free choice and free will to exercise the masking of the entire body. Classic Stockholm syndrome, but I believe it should actually be, I think Stockholm syndrome actually juked it from Islam. It should have been the Islamic syndrome. But nonetheless, and you're like, well, what about all the Muslims and the Islamic nations are only victims and quit because they've never ever contributed to slavery or colonization anywhere. Just okay, sure. The Arab world, for example, the Muslim world did invade a bunch of countries, including Iran, way back in the day. But that's too far back. And slavery might have started in sub-Saharan region and in the Middle East, but we're not gonna look at that because we're only the victims of colonization and slavery. And who cares about the workers in Qatar? Yes. Did they work in slave-like conditions? Did they have their workers' permits removed, their visas, their passports taken away from them and paid poorly, sometimes not even properly, not even at all sometimes? But, you know, okay? So please, don't burn the Quran. Just take a look at how amazing the Islamic countries like Saudi Arabia, like Iran, and other places in the world, look how they've flourished so well in terms of introducing new innovation, creating a society where everyone's treated with respect and dignity, regardless of their sex, regardless of their religion, regardless of their personal beliefs. Gays, these guys are so progressive, they will actually bypass gayness and chop it off and call you a trans just because, like, that's where it's at, baby. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope that you've enjoyed today's episode. This has been yet another So-So production. I did want to speak with a few people, but then again, I did come out a little bit early, and I guess people are just still snoozing. But if you take anything away from this, is that first of all, I love you all. Thank you for joining me. Again, if you want to watch these episodes, go ahead and follow me on Instagram if you like, subscribe on YouTube so you get the full-length videos. And patreon.com is where you can support your boy, patreon.com/RobStadger, because this is an independent project with a lot of variety and a lot of different aspects. I love you all, and remember, no one's coming. Come by yourself. Or come together, or come by yourself. Regardless of how you choose to come, just come.
Oh, no, no, oh, no.